Okay.
You're just Faith today.
Perfect. I'm like Beyonce. I only have one name.
I'm Marloes, the Interim Executive Director of the Kicking Horse Country Chamber of Commerce. And I sit here with Faith from the Golden Bakery to celebrate women in business. So Faith, you've been part of, or you're the third generation of the Dusevik family that's been running the Golden Bakery. How was it as a child growing up being part of a business family?
It was really fun, actually, especially when I was younger, because we would just come in all the time and make cookies with my dad, or he'd have like leftover dough, and I would make cookies and think it was actually cookie dough, and all the staff would eat them. But it was fun and interesting, and it was really busy. Like, I watched everybody working. My grandma was retired by the time I was born, but I watched my mom grow up in the bakery and my dad, and it kind of really instilled the love of business for me.
Right. That's pretty awesome to be grown up like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And be part of it. And you have a brother and a sister as well. Are they involved in the business too?
My sister lives in Kelowna, but everybody has worked here. My brother worked here, my sister worked here, and I worked here. This was all our first jobs,
right?
Whether we liked it or not. But my sister doesn't work here anymore, and my brother does some contracting and building for us because we're trying to make a patio in the back. So he's the one that's building that.
So Faye mentioned earlier, you're the third generation being involved in the bakery. Since when did you become more involved?
I got involved about 3 years ago. That's when I started to get trained in baking, because that wasn't something I had originally planned for. So I started training in 2019 with my dad, and now I'm mostly full-time baking. So for about 2.5 years, I've been allowed to bake by myself.
Nice. How is it like being part of the family business?
It's really cool, actually. It's genuinely not what I expected. That's why I went to university for something completely different than baking. But I love baking. It's cool to know that I'm doing something that 2 generations in my family have done before. And a lot of the equipment that I'm using is the exact same equipment that we have been using for 50 years.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So Faith, you're part of the daily operations of the bakery. How is that as a female? How do you experience that being part of the leadership here?
Honestly, I find that it's easy in Golden because there's so many women in leadership in Golden. Almost every boss I've had in Golden has been a female, right? Besides my grandpa and my dad, but my mom and my grandma were there. So I've always had females kind of leading me. So being a female in this business, it was kind of natural. Never felt
that's really
out
awesome.
of place.
Yeah. I also I like Golden a lot because of that. I feel so so well represented in the business community. So it's really cool to be part of that.
It's really cool. There's so many women in Golden that have started businesses recently, that have ran businesses for years.
Yeah.
It's awesome, actually.
So Faith, how do you feel the chamber helps your business thrive?
The chamber is such an asset to the community because it's so nice to have an organization that represents businesses, and having a community, like a smaller community for the businesses that kind of understand the struggles that we might be going through or the triumphs. And so it's just so necessary for the business community to be able to thrive in a small town.
And connect, right? Because as business owners, I find you're often almost, isolated is not really the right word, but you're so immersed, that's probably the better word, immersed in your own business. So it can feel lonely, but then I find being part of a network really helps with that.
Yeah, and there's there's so many different unique perspectives in the business community because everyone's coming from such different walks of life that there's new ideas that we might have never thought of, or it's just so nice to have that group.
Faith, is there a mentor moment from your grandmother or mother that you still use today?
I don't think that there was one specific moment, but it was accumulative little moments. I watched my grandma, basically, she helped raise us so that my mom could be here. And I watched my mom work so hard here and then go home and be a mom. And it just showed me that I could do that too. I didn't have to pick one or the other. I could be both. And now my mom watches my 2 daughters, and they will grow up watching the same thing that I did.
Totally. I often see your mom walk around with your children in the neighborhood, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think she loves it.
Faith, where do you see the Golden community go in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think the Golden community is going to continue to grow. It's proven over the last few years that young families want to be here, and it's really nice to see. I think that the business community will continue to thrive. There's already so many women in business in Golden, and the younger generation is just surrounded by so many strong women here that I can only see that growing.
Mm-hmm. I think Golden has a really entrepreneurial spirit. People don't all just come here to like move here to live. They want to do something. I feel that really is a strong vibe in this community.
Yeah, I think that there's so many people in Golden that aren't afraid to dream. I think if you go down the street in Golden and speak to locals, there's so many people here that have really big ideas and genuinely believe they can do it and will genuinely try and do it and succeed. Mm-hmm. I think it's a really unique community in that way. So I think that over the next 5 to 10 years and beyond, the town's only going to continue to thrive.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember the old sign that was like south of town when you drove in, and it said Golden, Town of Opportunities.
Town of Opportunity.
I just heard, with the new sign, they took it down and it doesn't say that anymore. But I really I still call this Town of Opportunities.
Yeah. When I grew up, it was Golden, the Town of Opportunities, or Town of Opportunity. And I completely agree that this town has so much opportunity and there's so much industry here that there's just so many reasons to come here to live permanently that it will fully continue to keep growing.
And it's such a variety, right? There's something for anybody. If somebody comes to Golden and they say it's a boring town, they haven't looked close enough.
Yeah, they haven't been here long enough.
Exactly.
Because there's so much to do.
Yeah.
And there's so many people here that if the thing they like isn't here, they'll just create it here.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly. We're sitting down here to celebrate women in business. What's your thought? Do we need an International Women's Day?
Yes, I think that it's so important to recognize women. If we're going to be honest, women weren't recognized for a significant amount of time. I was lucky that I was raised by 2 strong women, but the reality is not everybody is going to have an experience where they feel empowered as a woman. And look at the amount of things we learn on Women's History Month, the amount of scientists that were always in the background, the amount of doctors and mathematicians and all of these people that we had no idea were part of these big ideas that happened, or the history and making of Canada and the world in reality. And even on a smaller scale of Golden, you'd be hard pressed to find a business in Golden that doesn't have a strong woman that's helping that business thrive. So I just think that women's history is so important to recognize, because we do still need to teach our little girls and our young women and our older women who might not even know about how important we have been to society and to history.